The Mechaber says, "V'chein im nofal l'toich hamoroch edechech chatiches l'neda leiza chatiche." Tipas cholov fell on a chatiche. You don't know which chatiche it fell. Noyer esakdeiro kula ad sheyoshu v'yisarev hakoil. What you do is you mix it. Im yesh b'gdeiro kula tam cholov asura. If there's going to be tam in the whole pot against the cholov, there's going to be tam of the cholov asura. In lav muteretz. V'im lo nimtza goy sheyitoim v'nismei cholov. There's no goy around. This is the Shittas Rambam that if you don't know where it fell, Yosef Fried Pozar Shiur. Shiur can. If you don't know where the Chtipas Chola fell on which Chatiche, the din is, you could mix the pot. So the Tur right away attacks the Rambam. And the Tur says something doesn't make any sense over here. Where is the Chatiche that it might have fallen on? If it's B'toich HaRoitev, so it's already Mis'arif, you don't need to be Menayah the pot. If it's chutz l'roitev, so it already became nevela. Ma yoyil haniud. It's not going to help you mixing. The chticha is nevela. You would need shishim against what? The biggest piece, if you don't know which piece it fell on, right? That's what I would paskin. Rabbi, it fell on one of the pieces. What to do? Well, I don't know. Whatever the biggest one, you need to have shishim connected. That's what I would paskin. And therefore the Torah argues in the Rambam, it says you're not allowed to mix it. Said comes the Basar Yosef and he asks another question. One of the things the Basar Yosef, the Rambam says, the Mechaber, if it fell on morok, if it fell on the soup, why are you mixing it b'chlal? If it fell on the morok, why are you mixing it? So far, so good. All right. The Basar Yosef is mechadish that the chatchila, even if it falls on the morok, you're supposed to mix it. She is out of yofe yofe. Not b'di'evet the achronim say, but the chatchila you have to mix it. She is out of yofe yofe. Comes the Basar Yosef and brings from the Mari ben Choviv. Rabbeinu Yankev ben Habib, who says there's no machloikis here. There's a misunderstanding. The Rambam never meant noyer later. What did the Rambam mean? Noyer miyad. Why? He says, I'll prove it to you. Because even if you're going to have a teretz, why the Rambam says you can mix it later, what about ein mevatla issur l'chatchila? What do you mean you're allowed to? Let me you find the Pesach Kiddush, why the Rambam says you're allowed to mix it later. I found a Gemara that says it didn't become nevela, and therefore it's all mitzvah. Why are you allowed to mix it? So it must be that the Rambam also meant noyer right away. Amela, the Torah and the Rambam are not arguing. It makes a lot of sense. The Rambam wasn't being mechadish greis chidushim over here. All the Rambam was basically saying is that if you know which chatichet fell on, what do you have to mix? What do you mix? That chatichet. If you don't know which chatiche it fell on, what do you have to mix? All the chatiches, to make sure you got the one that it fell on. That's all. Balabatish shtikol Rambam. That's what the Mari ben Choviv learns. It's a poshut of balabatish shtikol Rambam. You have to mix all the chatiches to make sure that it's bottle b'shishim. Beautiful. So as I learned the Mari ben Choviv. Comes the Taz, Maimer HaMuzgir, and says, by the way, even right away, you're still not allowed to do that lechatchila. Ein mevatla issur lechatchila. The Taz says, Sovar l'sakein v'loy tikein. I don't even understand how you answered the kasha. If you're mixing right away, since when are you allowed to mix it right away? It says in the first part of the sif, avolim nir mitchila v'ad soif. Doesn't say you're allowed. It says if you happen to mix it mitchila v'ad soif, so then it's going to be okay. But it doesn't say you're allowed. Here the Rambam writes noyer that you're allowed to do it l'chatchila. Says the Taz, I hold you not allowed. How do we answer that kasha of the Taz? I think the Taz, l'chayre, the Mari ben Choviv makes more sense. I don't want to say the Taz doesn't know. Chaz v'sholem, it makes more sense what the Mari ben Choviv learns. Why? Ein mevatel issur l'chatchila just means you cannot be mevatel something that's already treif. But if you're preventing issur, it wasn't your fault. Issur fell into a pot that has 30. You're not allowed to right away chap and add another 30. Why not? You prevented the issur from happening. There's no shayla l'chayre that if a tipas cholov fell on a k'deiro, yeah? Or on a tippa, that you see which chaticha it fell on. And right away you want to push that into the roitev kidei, that it should all be mitzvah to be mevatel b'cholah. For sure you're allowed. I ain't mevatel this chatchila. What did you do? You weren't mevatel an issur? Yeah, it's called the chatchila. You're doing something to make sure the issur is bottle, because you're trying to be moineya from the issur to affect the k'deira. So I don't see the grace of Shiloh of the Taz.
Second mix now it's butter.
That's issur. For sure. You're not allowed to take the chatchila cholov and put it into water in order to use it with basar. Because your kavanah was to be mevatel an issur. Because you want to use it with basar. Stop, you said it already. Nevertheless, Shulchan Aruch Paskes, the Alter Rebbe Paskes it right now. You're not allowed to take chometz today and be mevatalit kedei lo achli b'Pesach. That's part of mevatalit issur lechatchila. And the Alter Rebbe says the same thing. You cannot put cholov into water kedei lo achli in basar. That's for sure. Because you didn't do it b'kavona. It happened by itself. If you're doing it b'kavona, you're not allowed. But if the cholov already fell into water that you want to use for chicken soup, or even mamish chicken soup, in order to prevent a problem, you're allowed to add another shloshim. Because it happened by itself. That's the key difference. Okay. Shoin. Now let's go back. This was just a Maimer Amuzgir that the Taz was grappling with the Bari Ben Choviv's pshat in Noyer. But let's go back to the Rambam. The Mechaber apparently learns Noyer Sakdeira means Kipshuta even later. How do I know that? Again, because if the Mechaber would have learned like the Bari Ben Choviv that what does Noyer mean right away, trust me, the Mechaber would have tweaked the Loshen to mean right away. Correct? Okay. Comes the Shach and the Taz, they found the Magid Mishnah. The Magid Mishnah on the Rambam, it shouldn't be too difficult to find, by the way, it's published on the side of the Rambam, in the Rambams that we have, which was published originally by the Goy who first printed the Rambam the first time. He put the Magid Mishnah on the side and the Kesef Mishnah. The Magid Mishnah says, the reason why the Rambam says the piece did not become Nevela is because you don't know which one it fell on, and if you don't know, it doesn't become Nevela. Let's read the Magid Mishnah inside the Taz on page Kuf Chav Dalet. On the last of the wide lines on top, right on top, fourth line of the Taz on top. Taz, K'meshe Kosev Harava Magid. In Chassidus Chabad, Harava Magid means the Mezritcha Magid. In Halacha, it means the Magid Mishnah. By the way, what is Pei Beis? Which city is Pei Beis? Pei Beis is what? I said Preshburg or Peterburg. I mentioned that already once. Okay, fine. That's all. Chiddush of the Magid Mishnah. Anytime you don't know, it doesn't become nevela. Does that make any sense to anybody? Does it make any sense? I have two pieces here. I don't know which one it fell on, right? So because I don't know, so it doesn't become nevela. Oh, one of them is for sure nevela. If I have 5 pieces, one of them is for sure nevela. What are you talking about? The Magid Mishnah is built to move on klal uchlal. But one thing I see from this Magid Mishnah, he's making a yisod here to be masbed the Rambam. It's a yisod. The Rambam taka means you can mix it later. I, the taina of the Tur, one of them became nevela. What are you gaining? It's already chanan, and you would need shishim against the big piece. Zok the Magid Mishnah, loy, it's not chanan, because you didn't know. So what's really going on here? So what's really going on here is the Magid Mishnah thinks that we're big Talmid Chachamim, and we know Kol HaTerech, and we know the background of what he wrote. He never meant that if you don't know, it doesn't become. It's not what he meant. Why are you here? Goldberg, Zions, what are you doing here? He never meant that there's no Ch'tich Nasas Nevel if you don't know. I'll tell you what he meant. This is a very interesting halacha in Siman Kuf Yud Aleph in Ilchas Taruvas, the last Siman in Taruvas, which the Shach quotes, and the Taz is mechaven to that, and so is the Magid Mishnah. I'm going to read it in the Shach. Right before the medium lines in the Shach, on page Kuf Chav Dalet, it says Sof Siman Kuf Yud Aleph, page Kuf Chav Dalet, the last of the medium lines in the Shach. You see it? Sof Siman Kuf Chav Aleph. The Hoyukan Shtei K'deiris. Okay, the Tur brings it and the Mechaber brings it in Sif Zayin and Kufidal. You have 2 pots in front of you. V'nofal issur l'teich achas man, and issur fell into one of them. Ve'eni yedei le'ezer nofal. Mamish our case, right? Ve'ein ba'achas mehem levat loy. Neither of them have shishim. So what ends up happening? One of them is what? Treif. One of them is not just treif. If you hold chanan b'shari surim, what is it also? Nevelim. Correct? Do you have bittul beroiv here? Why not? Because you only have 2 pots. You have chad b'chad. It's mamish like a shtik nevela and a shtik kosher. What's the din if you have chad b'chad? They're both what? Treif. And you chayiv oshem tolu if you eat any of them, right? Says the Mechaber, says the Tur, it's based on the Rashba, v'yesh b'shteihem levatle, but together there's 60. Each one has 30, or one has 40, one has 20, doesn't matter. Shneim mitztarfin levatle. It's as if it fell into one big pot. Why? Shekol she'osid lehisarev ro'yinoisa kilu kvar me'urev. Since they're eventually going to be mixed, so the Torah views it as if they're mixed now. Now, what's the pshat eventually going to be mixed? So it's 2 nekudas that it means eventually going to be mixed. Number 1, it means there's one balabas. They're not each owned by 2 different people, because then they're not going to be mixed. So one person means they're going to be mixed, and they're able to be mixed. It's not one basar and one chalav, or one sweet and one sour. Although today there's such a thing called sweet and sour chicken. But in those days, one was sweet, one was sour. You don't mix it together. But if they're neutral flavors and one balabas, kol she'asid desarev ro'yinoisei kilo morev. Translate what that means. Since I don't know where it fell, did any of them become nevela? No, because kol she'osid li'yisadev royin oisoi ki'ilu hu ma'urev. That's exactly what? If you know, it's treif. It's treif already. It's not osid li'yisadev. Pshat is, since you don't know, and I'll use different lashonis to explain from the poskim, and you'll understand the difference. Not that you'll understand the halacha, but you'll understand the difference. So it's exactly what the Magen Mishnah really means. He means this din. It doesn't mean that anytime you don't know, there's no nasa nevela. He means this din. When you have two k'neiros, so you don't know where it fell, we say it's as if lechatchile there was shishim, and it fell into both of them together, and there was shishim. Now I'm going to bring you the lashon haposkim, which will tell you what we mean here. Yes. Kol hanichnas besofik misayeya levatel. You understand that? Anything that's part of my suffix is also automatically part of the bittul. So if you knew which one it fell, there's no suffix, right? You know it fell here. So another way of saying kol she'asid li'asad of royin oisei ki'ilu ma'urev, if you just use that line, Binyamin's asking a brilliant question. If you know where it fell, since there's another one next to it that's asid li'asad, let's assume they were both ma'urev. No. You're only being done on one kedera. But now that I'm being done on both because I have no idea where it fell, same thing if I have 5 pots. I don't know which one it fell into, right? Yes? So I say, Kol she'asid li'yisadev royin oisei ki'ilu ma'urev. Kol hanichnas besofik misayeya levatel. So it's as if, since it's part of my suffix, it's all big one jumble mumble, and it's all bottle b'shishim. It's exactly what the Magen Mishnah says over here. What? No. As long as you're able to mix it. As long as you're able to mix it. Okay. Says the Maggid Mishnah, that's the pshat in the Rambam. That's the yisoid of this Rambam. When the Rambam says Yoreh De'ah, why are you allowed to mix it? How come one piece didn't become nevela? Because it didn't, because you don't know where it fell. So kol hanichnas besofik b'sayeya levatel. Anything that's part of the suffix is going to help the bittul. So b'meile, the piece never became nevela. All right. If you'll take a look in Kuf Yud Aleph, do you actually have to mix it? In order to eat it over there in Kuf Yud Aleph, do you actually have to mix it? The Ramah says, yeah. The Ramah says you actually have to mix it b'poil. The Taz says, no way. If you have to mix it, that means it wasn't me'urev when it fell, so one of them became nevela. That makes no sense. If the whole thing is hocus pocus, kol she'asid li'yisadev royin oisei ki'ilu, so ki'ilu hu me'urev, why do I have to actually mix it? So the Taz argues you don't have to mix it. Correct? Does that make sense? That's the Taz's shitta. Yeah? Are you all with me? That's why the Taz over here says, why do you have to mix it, the pile here? You don't have to. It's a toiva. Idiot, if you're not going to mix it, you're going to taste one of them with cholov, and now it's going to become nevela, and now you're going to need shishim against the piece. I'll give you a eitzah. Mix it. You don't have to. Taka, the Taz l'shitase. Because the yisoid of the halacha of kol she'asid li'yisadev, al pidin, you don't have to mix it. The Taz screams and argues with the Ramah. The Shach agrees to the Ramah. The Shach doesn't talk about why you have to mix it here. Obviously you have to mix it. That's the din. Anytime you say kol she'asid li'yisadev rein oisei ki'ilu ma'urev, the Shach holds, you taka have to mix it. Understood? Okay. The problem is, this halacha makes absolutely 0 sense. What does that mean? Black is white and white is black? They're not ma'urev. Kol she'asid li'yisadev royin oisei ki'ilu ma'urev. Why in the world would you think so? It makes absolutely 0 sense. Therefore, the Shach, Poskim Akaponim over there say that this din only applies by a Derabanan. By an issur Derabanan, where the Chachamim were the ones that said there's a problem, so they gave you a hocus pocus solution. Right? They gave a solution called Kol she'asid li'yisadev royin oisei ki'ilu ma'urev. Correct? Masha'enke by an issur deraisa, hello, one of them is nevela and malasot. There's nothing you could do. One of them is nevela. You can't say Kol she'asid li'yisadev royin oisei ki'ilu ma'urev when it's not, or Kol hanichnas besofik misayeya levatel. How could that be? It's not possible if it's issur deraisa. Question over here. What are we dealing with? The piece that it fell on is a deraisa or a derabanan? Basar fell on chicken or fell on meat? Well, what is it? Meat. So issur deraisa. If it's issur deraisa, how can we bring this halacha of kol she'asid li'yisadev royin oisei ki'ilu ma'urev? That's number one. Number two, if it fell on one of the pieces, why is the roitiv part of my suffix? Why is the soup part of my suffix? You follow my question? What's the shishim going to be here? The pieces or the soup together with the pieces? The whole tafshil is shishim against the cholov. How am I allowed to use the soup as part of my shishim if the soup was not part of my suffix? Fell on one of the pieces.
But the pieces was part of the right.
Was it? If it's part of the reitiv, then it's lachatchila all mitzdarif.
What if there isn't
Elamai the pieces out of the reitiv.
What if there isn't enough with the reitiv?
What?
What if there isn't enough with the reitiv included?
It doesn't matter, but the reitiv is not part of your suffix. You can't use it part of the shishim. If I have 2 pots and the issur fell into 1 or 2, together they're no shishim. I have a third one that will make shishim. Can you use the third one part of the suffix? If it's also part of the suffix, I don't know if it fell into any of one of the 3. But if I know it only fell into 2, I can't use the third one as the shishim. It's not part of the suffix. About.
But the chances are that the soup was the pieces were part of the soup and it wasn't shishim.
I don't understand. The pieces are in the soup or out of the soup? Then if they're in the soup, everything's mistarif right away anyways. I don't need to be... Then you're stuck anyways. How much they were...
Both together.
No, where are the pieces? In the soup or out of the soup? The ones that you have a suffix on, where are they? In the soup, so everything's mistarif right away. Out of the soup, so the soup's not part of the suffix. Simple, basic question.
Yeah, but then we said that we say you don't really say.
Yeah, but you could only say kol she'asad li'yisadev only with ones that are part of the suffix. Remember, I told you, if you have one pot where it for sure fell into, you can't use another one that's also li'yisadev to battle the
So
shishim.
there's 2 things of soup.
And they have a third one that's not part of the suffix. If it sure didn't fall into the third one, you can't use that to be battle the shishim. Only the ones that are part of the suffix. So why is the marok part of the suffix? Simple question.
You know it fell into pieces or you don't know?
Well, that's the case. You don't know if it fell into pieces.
You don't know if it fell in the mark or the pieces.
Okay, that's an answer. That's one. That he's giving a good answer. The Shach mentioned an option. Pshat in the mechaber is that you know it. You don't even know if it fell on the pieces or on the soup. Maskim, but it's not poshe pshat. That's a doichik pshat, right? Poshe pshat in the mechaber is that you don't know if it fell on the pieces. You also fell on the marok. So in the case where you don't know if it fell on the pieces, how is the marok part of the shish? You gave a good option. Okay, let's start with the first question.
Because in that case, the pieces are chutz l'reitiv.
They have to be chutz l'reitiv here. Because if they're mitach l'reitiv anyways, everything's mistarif. Okay, let's talk about the first question. The chur, it's a issur deraisa. We don't say hocus pocus. Chavis Das says, very simple. Here it's a derabanan. Anytime it's out of the reitiv, it's only tzli. Tzli is never bishul, and every tzli that's out of the reitiv is only a derabanan. So here we're dealing with a derabanan. So we could throw in hocus pocus, kol she'asad li'yisadev, ro'y noisei kilum u'urev. We could throw in kol hanichas b'safek b'seyah levatel. Because over here it's never bishul, because the piece is out of the reitiv. So this whole siman of tipas chol of the fallen achaticha, according to the Chavis Das, is anyways only a derabanan. You let us sell it to a goy, etc., etc. Okay, very simple. Balabata sheteretz, right? That is no reitiv. Bishul is with reitiv. That's the definition. Bishul is with reitiv. Out of reitiv is tzli. Okay. However, most poskim don't hold that tzli is a derabanan. They hold tzli as a deraisa. So comes the Kresio Plesi, the Pri Megadim quotes him, and he says, "I'll tell you why it's a derabanan over here, because you have 3 pieces. You have 3 pieces. There's no case here of 2 pieces. If there would be 2 pieces, you're stuck. The Rambam would never say that it's not nevela and you can mix it. Finished. For sure, there's 3 pieces. So even if one became nevela, min ha'toirech, yavish b'yavish is bottle, and how much? Beroif. So you're dealing sachakel with a derabanan, right? Since you're dealing with a derabanan sachakel, so b'meila we kick in the other din that says that the minute it fell, it was already bottle. Now you could eat them. That's what the Kresio Plesi says. The enochanami, this din would never work unless you have 3 pieces. And because you have 3 pieces, it becomes a derabanan. So far, so good.
3 pieces in that pot.
In this pot that I have a suffix on. I have a suffix, not a 1 of 2. Obviously.
You have 2 and 1.
What do you mean 2 and 1? Let's first get straight before the what ifs. Let's see what it says. You have 3 pieces here that are part of my suffix. I don't know where it fell on. So even the one that it fell on, min ha'toireh is still mutter, because it's batal b'roiv, right? Elamai, it's only issur midrabanan, correct? Since it's only issur midrabanan, yeah? So b'meila, how am I going to be mad to them? I have another din that kicks in if it's a derabanan. What's that din? Kol she'asad li'yisadev, you know, it's a kilum u'urev. So it's l'chatchila as if the milk fell onto the whole pot and everything is batal b'shishim. That's what the the $1 million question on the Plesi is bitul b'roiv works midrabanan too. So why do I even need the din of kol she'asad li'yisadev, you know, it's a kilum u'urev? Just eat them. Midrabanan, it's fine. It's mutter midrabanan too. I was waiting for someone to ask the question. Okay? In order to answer this question, we need to veer off to the dinim of Yavish B'Yavish. So we're going to leave this whole sugya. We're going to talk about Yavish B'Yavish for a few minutes, and we're going to just tell you different halachas that we're going to learn Be'ikeh when we learn it in Siman Kuf Tes. But I'll tell you now a little bit. Yavish B'Yavish, min b'minoi, is batal b'roiv. Which means I have 2 pieces of kosher, 1 piece of nevela. It's all the same min. it's bottle bereif. Can I eat them all in one shot? It's machloikes rishonim. The Rosh says yes, the Rashba says no, you have to eat them bezachas. But they're mutter. There's a way to eat them all. Bezachas, you can eat them, and the Rosh says you can even eat them bezachas. Correct? The Mechaber paskins like the Rashba. You're not allowed to eat them bezachas, you have to eat them bezachas. One din. Yovish beyovish min b'she'einoi minoi. A piece of chazer, which I imagine tastes different, right? I never tried it, but I imagine it tastes different. With two pieces of kosher, and they look the same, because they do. Go to the shop, right? Go to the store, you'll see. You can't really tell. I mean, you could, if you're really a bucky, but if you're not a bucky, they look the same. It's not bottle beroif. You actually need shishim pieces to be mevatel it. The reason being, we'll discuss in Taruvis other reasons, but the basic reason that the Mefarshim bring is, it's a simple reason. Because if I'm going to say it's bottle beroif, what happens if you by mistake cook them together? Now what's going to happen? It's going to be nois and tam into the other two pieces, right? And now it'll be osam min ha-Torah. In order to avoid coming to an issur d'oraisa, the Chachamim said you need shishim now. Min b'minoi, however, what happens if you cook them together? Min b'minoi, 3 pieces. Min ha-Torah, what do you need by min b'minoi? I don't even know if we discussed this. I'll discuss it now. According to Rabbi Yehuda, min b'minoi, what's the din? Is never. And according to us, it's bottle in how much? Shishim, right? That's midirabanan. Midiraisa, what would you need? What would you need from min b'minoi? There's no taste. What do you think you need? Roif. The whole reason for shishim is really because it's taste. Min b'minoi never has taste. It's better than min b'sheinei minoi, according to us. It's bottle b'roif. So by min b'minoi, the chachamim allowed roif to work, because even if you by mistake cook them together, you're never going to come to an issur d'oraisa. Correct? But yovish b'yovish min b'sheinei minoi, where you potentially might come to an issur d'oraisa if you cook them together. So there, the Chachamim said, you need to have 60 pieces right now. That's the din. So whenever we say Yovish b'Yovish is bottle b'roif, we refer to number 1, min b'minoi, because einei minoi, how much do you need? Shishim. We also say you're not allowed to eat them b'basachas, you have to eat them b'zachas. Correct? So far so good? The Rosh says you can eat them basachas. The Rashba says b'zachas. Everybody in this conversation holds that Yovish b'Yovish min b'she'einei minoi needs shishim. Now I'm going to give you a new heicha timtzeh. I have 3 pieces that are the same taste. All min b'minoi. They're all kosher. One of them is treif with tam of einei minoi. For example, one piece of basar was balei chalav and it became basar bechalav. What's it in? How do you paskin now? Yovish b'yovish. Huh? Stop. Right now, yovish b'yovish, what's the din? You say roiv. But if I cook them, what's going to happen? The chalav might give tam. What? Cook. Of course it could go. If you cook them, what's going to happen to the chalav? It's going to give tam to all the 3 pieces. So what do you need to make sure? Make sure that the roiv, all 3 have shishim against the chalav. That's all. So you need roiv plus shishim, not shishim against the whole piece. Even though it became nevela, who cares? A piece of nevela is also bottle b'roiv. Yovish b'yovish. As long as the tam chalav shebetoichoi won't be able to be nois and tam into the other 2 pieces. You follow? So what do you need when you have a blia that's einei minoi? Roiv ubilvad, that roiv is also shishim against the blia altogether. Correct? That's the din. Prima Godim says a beferish. It's not a beferish mechaber or ramah. No, says who? I told you how big the pieces are. Why are you so sure there's shishim? I didn't tell you how big they are. They're small pieces. What do you mean? Tipas cholav fell on a piece that's 10 times the cholav. I have 3 such pieces, so I'm only 30. Simple. I mean, whatever.
So the liquid would add into that?
No. Liquid would not add into that. Ain't count mekoyim. No, you have to have shishim in the 3 together. You also adding liquid? We don't add it. So you should say the same time. Why does Bechal Yovish need shishim? You can also add liquid when you cook it.
Don't add liquid.
You're gonna add liquid when you cook it. So why you need shishim pieces? Just need 30 pieces plus the same amount of liquid. You probably won't have time. Okay. So nachamo, if you have 3 pieces, okay, one of them is osur because it has a blia that's einei minoi. It's not a piece. It's not a piece of chazer that's einei minoi. It's a blia that's einei minoi. So what do you need to be mevatel this piece? Roiv, because the piece is min b'minoi. You might cook it and give tam. Make sure that roiv altogether has 60 against the cholav. So if you have 3 pieces of basar, one was belei cholav. If each piece is 20 times the cholav, it's bottle b'roiv. Because even if I cook them together, how much am I going to end up having against the cholav? Shishim. What do I don't have 60? What's the din? No, it's stuck. It's also It's not bottle. You don't have shishim, it's not bottle. That's the din. All right. Now we have an answer to our question, to Biyamin's question. Biyamin asked the Shaila, if the place he says there are 3 pieces here, so it's bottle b'roiv. Why do I need the whole derabanan of kol she'osid li'asadav? It's anyways bottle b'roiv. No, not here. Here, the cholov has to not only be bottle b'roiv, it has to also be bottle b'shishim in the 3 chatiches. Here we're talking about there's no shishim against the cholov in the 3 chatiches. Simple as that. We're talking about a case. Tipas cholov falls on one of 3 pieces. If I combine all 3 together, I do not have shishim against the cholov. Correct? I don't have. So minatoira it's bottle beroiv. Midirabonon they still said it's issur. Why? Because I might cook it, it'll give tam. So it's only a dirabonon. I got a better din now to be mated everything. What's that better din? Kol she'aseh l'sadav. No, you know, it's a kilomurim. So it's l'chatchila bottle b'shishim so I can eat them all. That's the pshat. What? No, with the liquid. You add the liquid now, you mix it with the liquid, now you're going to have shishim. Very good. I have the liquid, so I have shishim. Including the liquid. I still have the second question. How is the liquid part of the suffix? I didn't answer that question yet. We're going to get there. We're just answering the first question was, l'chiyoida, there were 2 questions. Number 1, it's only by a deraisa. How is it a derabanan? We answered that. There's roiv. So you asked, if it's roiv, who needs the hocus pocus din of kuf yud aleph? So I'm answering you, it's a case where bittul b'roiv is only working minatoida. Why is the bittul b'roiv only working minatoida? Because there's not shishim in the 3 pieces against the cholov. So beside it, for b'drabanan, it's still awesome. No problem. Kol she'aseh l'sadav. No, you know, it's a kilomurim. Simple. Very good. What about the second question? The second question is a very good question. How was the morak part of the suffix? All right. Where are these chatiches? Definitely not b'toich haroitev kulei, right? Because if they were kulei b'toich haroitev, then automatically the whole pot would be mitzvah of the shishim. Is that correct? So where is it? Chutz l'roitev. How much? Chloikes, Rashi, and Ri, right? Rashi holds even if it's just a little bit out, and the Ri says, where does this piece completely have to be? Completely out of the roitev. When the Taz learns the Rambam, remember what he told us last time? What did the Taz say? Where's the piece? Remember he learned Pshat in the Rambam. Where's the piece? Huh? Taz? Rashi.
In the end, he looked like me.
Taz looked like Rashi.
So they're completely outside the ring.
No. No. The Taz says in the Fedish pizza. What? What are you reading? Taz Hey? I'm not talking about Taz Dalet. What's Taz Hey got to do with the Mechaber, the Rambam? Nothing. Of course it's right. The Mechaber says the Taz is going according to Rashi. Which Rashi? The Darkei Moshe or his own Rashi? His own Rashi. So where's the chatichis? If you say v'chein, according to the Rambam, the Shittas HaTaz, it's miktzoso b'toich haroitev, right? And according to the Taz, once the chaticha becomes issur, what automatically becomes issur as well, according to the Taz? Remember, the Taz says, like he holds, that in Rashi, even if you did nothing, what happens? It goes everywhere. So essentially, what's part of the suffix? Not just the chatichis, but also the morok. That's why the morok is part of the suffix, because it's one hemshich. First the chaticha, hello, you have shiur. Of course you're going. Rabbi Rebbe, make sure you tell me later that he went to shiur back. First it asks the chaticha, and then automatically it asks the morok. So essentially what's part of the suffix? The morok. The morok too. And I'll prove it to you, by the way. Look at the Taz. Everyone look at the Taz. You see a dalet in the middle of the Taz, the Kivega dalet. There's a little dalet like 2/3 down from the wide lines of the Taz. You see a dalet? The Taz on page Kuf Chav dalet. Efsha, right? Right under that it says umikoyach.
Yeah.
Okay, the Taz is saying if you're not going to mix it, you might taste the chatiche and then you'll taste cholav. Umikoyach zeh. Once you taste cholav in the piece, yesod hakoil. Why? Just throw out that piece. Why would the kedera need anything? Because the Taz l'shita say, where is this piece? And the Taz l'shita say, what's the pshat in Rashi? That once the chaticha becomes issur, automatically you need shish. That's why the Taz says, yes, that's why he says, don't be an idiot, mix it right away. Because if you do taste one piece, automatically that will now turn it into an avela. Automatically now you're going to need shishim in your whole kedera automatically against the chaticha, which you probably don't have. You only have against the cholav. Mela zaynishkin idiot, don't be a fool, mix it right away. So you see the Taz's mahalach over here. That why is the morak part of the shaila? Because it's miktsasa b'techaretiv, so automatically the morak is part of the song. So now we answered all the questions according to the Taz. Question number 1, in the Chayr, it's a derais over here, and you only say the klal by a derabanan. So we had the chavas das, simple, it's tzli, okay? But according to everybody else, the place he answers is 3 chatiches. How do we deal with that? If it's 3 chatichas, it should be mutter midirabanan also. The answer is no. Since it's einay minoi the cholov, you would need shishim in the 3 pieces against the cholov, which that you don't have. So midirabanan, it's still usur. So which din kicks in now? It's only a derabanan. I got a new din over here. I got the morak also part of my suffix. Why is the morak part of my suffix according to the task? Because the chaticha is miktsasa b'teichareitiv. That automatically transfers the tam into the morak. The morak is part of the suffix. I didn't make any of this up, by the way. This is all the pri hodor gives the biur in the task. He says it all befeirish. He's meirich barichas, very geschmack. It's poshut, by the way. There's no chidush of teira, by the way. There's no chidush here. It's poshut pshat. I'm going to add now a chidush. Once you learn that the Taz is learning that, it's a very simple word, that the chatichas are miktsasa b'teichareitiv, even if you had shishim in the chatichas alone, you couldn't eat them. Who could tell me why? If it's miktsasa b'teichareitiv, even if the 3 pieces alone had shishim, you still, if you're going to rely on bittul baroif without kol she'asur l'yisarif, you cannot eat them. Who could tell me why?
Even if
you would say that there's shishim in the 3 pieces, mitzad bittul baroiv, you cannot eat them still, and you need the din of kol she'asur l'sadav lo yinoi sekila morav. If not for that din, I would not be allowed to eat them. No, you don't know which one it is. It's a case of lo yinoida. I gave you already the answer, beremes. I'm going to go to a different shaila to you. I have 3 pieces on the table. Min b'minoi, what's the din? Bottle. The Rosh says I can eat them in one shot, and the Rashba says you cannot. I took them and I cooked them, and there's no shishim in the pot against the biggest piece. Can I eat any of them now, according to the Rashba? Why not? Because each one has tam of the other 2. So according to the Rashba, if you cook them without shishim against the biggest piece, that's called basachas now, even if you eat one. You could only eat them basachas when they're on the table. If you cook them, you better make sure there's shishim against the biggest. Because if there isn't, you can't even eat any of them. Why? Because that each one has tam now, not only of itself, but also of the other 2. That's shittas harashba, that's the halacha, according to the mechaber. We paskin like the Rashba, right? Paskin like the Rashba, and therefore if you cook them without shishim, says the mechaber, you can't eat any of them. So now let's go back to our case. These 3 pieces are miktsasa b'teichareitiv. You still can't eat them, because we hold like the Rashba. It's basachas. You can't eat them. Even bezachazeh, you can't eat them. Why is it mutter now here? Because kol she'asid l'sadav ro yirei sekilu mu'urav, so none of them became basar bechalav. I'm adding another nekuda, why we're able to say that it's still asur midrabanan. Not only because the 3 pieces don't have shishim connected the chalav, which is one option. He's right, the priyada. That's one option why it's only a drabanan. I'm adding, once you say now that the 3 pieces are miktsosam b'teichareitiv al pi the taz, you anyways can't eat them. Even if it was all min b'mino, you couldn't eat them. According to the Rashba, which the mechaber paskins like the Rashba. Why? Because it's basachas. So why could you eat them? It's also midrabanan to eat them basachas. I got this other halacha of kuf yud aleph of kol hanichnas besofik misayel levatel kol she'osid l'sadav lo yinei sekilu morav. So if you want to break down the whole seder, so the rabbanan, because you have 3 pieces, why could you still not eat them? Or because there's no shishim in the 3 against the chalav, or because they're miktsasa b'teichareitiv, so you can't eat them because they're basachas. I don't know how the pri holder missed that.
You're saying they can't get out of the pieces of shishim. Why would this other thing also? It's also another shishim. You're saying you're mixing the 2 pots.
Because he said kol and chanami. He's right. He's tiny to me. If you have shishim in the 3 pieces, you also already have kol she'asur l'sadav lo yinoi sekilu morav from the pieces themselves and a chanami. It's true. You're actually right. You don't even need the reitiv. If the 3 pieces have shishim against the cholav, correct? Then I can even eat them basachas because kol she'lo yinoi sekilu morav, even according to the Rashba, because the lechatchila was never asur. You made a valid point. It's true. But let's not get sidetracked with that. You don't even need the reitiv, and you can even eat them basachas, because nothing became asur. When do we say you can't eat them? If one of them taka became asur first, and then was nisarev, then you say you can't eat them basachas. But if the lechatchila you never knew where it fell, and all 3 had shishim, I already have kol she'asur nisarev. But you would still need kol she'asur nisarev, or else you have to eat them basachas.
And that's the din that's allowing it.
Yeah, but you would have to eat it basachas otherwise. Mitzad kol she'asur nisarev, get them basachas. So fine. So because we answered how the reitiv is part of the suffix because they're miktsasa b'teichareitiv, it also took care of the chiddush of why it's still asur midrabanan. It's still asur midrabanan because it's basachas. Okay. Adkan the taz. What about the shach? Where is this chaticha according to the shach? He paskins like ri. So where must these chatichos be? Out of the reitiv completely. So the only way we could explain why it's still Asr Midrabanan is the first oifen of the Pri Hadar. Eno Chanami min HaTorah, it's Batal B'Roiv. Why Midrabanan is it Asr? Because you do not have Shishim in all three against the Cholav. Simple as that. The way the Pri Hadar learns. The $1 million question that remains is, why is the Roitiv part of the Suffolk? If it's not Miktsasa B'Techa Roitiv, why is the Roitiv B'chlal part of my Suffolk? So Eno Chanami, Nochem, you said a good word before, you have to answer according to the Shach. The reason why it's part of the Suffolk is Ha Gufa is part of the Suffolk. I don't know if it fell on the Chatichis or on the Morok, like you answered.
Pieces are going to be possibly Zarif and Roitiv.
Doesn't matter, but the Roitiv is not part of the Suffolk. Remember, we only said you could say Kol She'asel L'Sadif if the thing that you're using is part of the Suffolk. Otherwise, anytime issur falls into a pot that's 30 and I plan to mix it with another 30, it should always be mutter, because Asel L'Sadif doesn't work that way. Once you know it's Asel. So the Mela, the only way you could use the Morak as part of the Shishim is only if it was part of the Suffolk. How is it part of the Suffolk? Enochanami. It's such a strong question that the only answer is what Nochem answered. So according to the Shach, where are the Chaticha is Chutz L'Roitiv? Same question. It's Batal B'Roiv. How come you can't eat it Midrabanan? Because the three Chatichas combined are not Shishim against the Cholov. Why is the Morak not part of the Suffolk? It's Takenat. And if this Morak is not part of your Suffolk, you Take cannot be Ma'arif, and you cannot be Mitzaref the Morak. The reason why the Rambam says you could here is because that's part of my Suffolk Gufa. Oh, Gufa. I don't know. Ilu Teicha Morak Nafal, Ilu Teicha Chatichas Nafal. So Take don't know. That's the only answer you can give for the Shach. That's for the Mari ben Choviv. But the Shach must hold of that answer for his own biur. You're welcome. Do you understand the conversation we said? The Shach made it as only an option. Yeah, in the Mari ben Choviv it was an option. Mari ben Choviv is a different question. If it fell on the Morak, why do you have to mix it? So he said two answers. Or you need the Morak for the Shishim, right? Because the Chtichas alone don't have Shishim. Or the Morak Guf is part of the Suffolk. Yeah, that's for the Mari ben Choviv. But for the Shach himself, there's only one Eitzah. The one Eitzah is you don't know if it fell on the Morak or not. Yes? Of course it doesn't work. It's a Doichek, I'm asking. That's why I told Nochem it's a doichek. I didn't want to learn that in the Taz. It's definitely not mashma like that in the Rambam. That's what it means, of course. Of course. You're saying a very good word. It's taka doichek, but there's no other choice. We must to learn like that. You must. Okay. So the Sikum Hadvorim, the Rambam actually makes a lot of sense. The Rambam Take, the Tur missed the boat. The Tur brings the Rashba and Siman Kuf Yud Aleph and says, whenever you don't know where it fell, we say Kol She'aseh L'Yisaref. He forgot, so to speak, that the Rambam holds the same thing. And that's why the Rambam says you could mix it, because none of them became Nevela. Not because I don't know doesn't become Nevela. In a case where I don't know, and I have Shishim combined of everything that's part of my Suffolk, yeah, Taka, none of them became Nevela. And that's the Kavanah of the Magid Mishnah. And that's why the Rambam says, go ahead and mix it. Now, why do you have to mix it? Taz says, Taka, don't mix it. Chanami, you knock yourself out and don't mix it, and then you'll taste one, and now you have a problem. So I'm giving you an Eitzah Tova mix it. By the way, you don't have to. Mix it and make sure it's shishim. The tasting is only if it's less than shishim. Then you're the Sfardi. Go give it to a goy.
This whole thing is based on kol shasid.
Yes, but according to Rambam, you don't need shishim for kol shasid. Just give it to a goy to taste, even less than shishim. It's also harei ukim urev, and there's no tam.
Why then there should be no kol shasid?
No, if you don't have kol shasid, then the morak's not part of your suffix.
Isn't kol shasid that you're going to get shishim?
Or no tam if you're a Sfardi. If you're us, it's shishim. Yeah, kol she'aseh l'Yisaref. If you're a Sfardi, doesn't dafke mean shishim. According to the Mechaber, if issur fell into one or two pots, yeah, and let's say they each have 20, and it's only 40, yeah, give it to a guy now. Fine, mix it and give it to a guy. For us that we're relying on shishim, we don't have to give it to a guy. That's the pshat in the Rambam. How we got to use the din of kol she'aseh l'Yisaref, we just made a whole pilpul. The Rabbanon and the Morak, we just went through all the details. But the Yisoid is one. The reason why the Rambam says it doesn't become nevela, because really here it's kol she'aseh l'Yisaref. By the way, the Akiva Eiger asks a bomba dikakasha on the Taz. The Taz says, in order that a goy shouldn't taste it, mix it. Frek to the Akiva Eiger, and if you're going to taste it, it's also going to be a problem. Right? So why does the Taz stress that the goy will taste it? If there's shishim, you also might taste it. Let's say you're not giving it to a goy because you have shishim and everything. But if you're not going to mix it and you're going to eat one of the pieces, you might actually eat the one, right, that has tam cholov. So in order to avoid that, mix it, yeah? So the people go to say, that's what the Taz meant. Taz also meant that for yourself, in order you shouldn't taste it, make sure. Lamosh, I'll give you an example. If an issur fell onto a tafshil that has shishim, but you have a hunch that there's one spot that the issur is giving more tam, what should you do before you eat it? Because if you eat something after shishim and there's taste, you have to throw it out. So what's the eitzah? What do? Mix it well. Add more. I don't know. It's mutter al pidin. Just eitzah toive. Guy comes to the Rav. Rabbi issur fell in at the 60, but I have a hunch I'm going to taste it. What should the Rav say right away? Say that. Don't take a risk. Just add. Mix it well, and then you won't taste it.
So we have shishim and you just don't taste it.
Awesome. Some say mederaisa, most poskim say derabbanan, but it's definitely awesome. Yeah.
So you're saying for the Rambam, there's no number whatsoever. For us, it's a number and taste.
Correct. So that's why Rabbi Akiva Eiger said, in order here, you're for sure going to taste it because it's out of the roitiv, right? Here, even with shishim, it's a hocus pocus shishim. So you're probably going to taste it if you eat the top one, the wrong one, right? So as a eitzah toiva, what should you do? Mix it first. Correct? All right. Problem is, says the Shach, I don't understand. I mean, if this is the pshat in the Rambam, the Tur didn't know that. The Ramot didn't know that. They know these halachas. So comes the Shach and says, a grisa chiddush, that this din of the Rashba, that whenever you have two pots, kol she'osed l'sadav lo yinayis kilamur, only applies if the issur that fell into one of these two pots is min b'minoi. Because if it was an issur that's einoi minoi, what does that mean? It's a suffix. You can find out where it fell. Ask a goy, please taste each one of them, tell me where it fell. What does it even mean? It's not a suffix. Even though we don't rely on a goy, but it's certainly not a suffix. There's a way to find out where it fell. So how could you say kol anichnas b'suffix misayeh levatel? How could you say that these two pots are besuffic? They're actually not besuffic. Just because I don't know where it fell doesn't mean it's a real suffix. Go to an expert and ask him to taste and tell you where the cholov fell. So we only say this klal by min b'minoi. Here, what is it? Einei minoi. It's cholov and basar. The whole din doesn't apply. Out the window. That's why the Torah argues. Simple as that. That's what the Shach explains. The reason why the Torah argues here is because in this case the din of kol she'aseh l'sadav doesn't apply because it's not a suffix. Because ika lemeka melo demilse, you could go find out where it fell. That's not the din of kol anichnas b'suffix. Misayeh levatel. It has to be an emes suffix. If it's not an emes suffix, it doesn't fly. That's why the Torah, the Ramah, they all argue on the Rambam.
So it only works by any.
Oh, by minoi.
You can find out.
No, Mina, you can't find out. No, Eine Mina, you could find out. Mina, you can't.
Now they're going to taste it.
You can. No, Mina. No, Mina means that the issur had to have the same min. You can't find out. Mina means the issur and the two parts are the same min. Eine Mina means the issur and the two parts are different min. Like here, challah falling on two pieces of basar.
According to the Shach, it's outside, right?
Yes.
And it's Rambam, nevertheless, right? Mix it and then ask the guy.
Correct.
Why?
You mean you ask you the chudas, it's not a suffix.
The Chulgo, ask the guy before you mix it.
Why
it's
should you?
outside.
You don't have to. You're allowed. Kol shenichas b'suffix b'sayel levatel. You don't have to. You don't have to. Kol anichas is only the rabbanon because you have three parts over here. It's all bevatel. So if you're if you're gonna ask a guy, now he might find the wrong one. Yeah, so take a mix it first. That's what it says. No, yeah. So nachzil yonenu. The reason why the Torah argues not because he misunderstood the Rambam. He knew the Magid Mishnah. He knew the din of Kufid Aleph. It just doesn't apply here because here the issur, which is the cholov, and the pieces that it's falling on are min b'sheinei minoi, doesn't apply. Okay. So far, so good. Right. Now the Taz doesn't say one word why the Rama argues. Correct? Says the Pri Megadim. Look at page Kuf Chafei, the last three lines of the Pri Megadim, Mishbis Zov, second column, page Kuf Chafei. Gam hagoy soramo osi shapir. Do you see? Gam hagoy soramo osi shapir. Iu l'shitosei lekamon kuf yud aleph. The dafke behef semeruba oimrim the have kimeurev loy be'inyan acher. Literally, the Ramah in kuf yud aleph doesn't even agree to this whole din of kol she'aseh l'sadav. Who argues on it? The Ra'ah. The Ra'ah argues on it. Who supports the Rashba? That's, you say kol she'aseh the mishmeres habayis. That's where the Shach says that doesn't count as another posik because who wrote the mishmeres habayis? The Rashba himself, so it doesn't count. Haloi noida the Baal mishmeres habayis who are Rashba ba'atzmoi. So it's one against one, right? So the Ramah says, listen, I'm going to go with the Ra'ah. Shaloi behefsid. Behefsid you could be mekel, which means that the whole din of kol she'aseh l'sadav doesn't apply. Shaloi behefsid meruba, only behefsid meruba. That's why the Ramah argues the shitosei. I knew that the Mechaber holds this reason is because Kol She'aseh. I knew that Rambam holds Kol She'aseh, but I don't like Kol She'aseh anyways in Kuf Yud Aleph. Therefore, I say I'm Machber over here, the Ramah. All right. So,
What about the Tur?
The Tur? I don't know. Explains the Ramah. Comes out from this Pri Megadim. What's the Ramah going to hold? In this case, Behefsid Merubeh. Could you mix them? Yes. Because behefsim merubah, we hold like the Rashba. According to the Shach, it doesn't help. Because the reason why we disagree here is because it's einay minoi, not because it's shalei behefsid or behefsid. It's a whole different explanation for the Ramah. According to the Shach's biur, is it never works here, even behefsid merubah, because it's einay minoi. The whole din never talked about einay minoi. But according to the way the Prima Godim learns the Taz, yeah, the Ramah is only machmer here because it's shalei behefsid. But behefsid merubah he would be mekel. So the Pri Hadar decided, for some weird reason, that the Prima Godim is just writing it l'Ravcha de Milsa. In truth, the Shach is right. That you can't be mekel here even behefsid merubah. That's what the Pri Hadar, Rabbi Pinchas Friedman Shlita holds. That the reason why the Prima Godim wrote over here, Gamma Amos, Shaper, behefsid merubah, is only l'Ravcha de Milsa, because in reality, once you learn the Shach, we know that it doesn't work here because it's einay minoi. I'm here to argue with him. And I'll tell you why. If you learn Siman Kuf Yud Aleph, you'll find something fascinating. The Taz also writes over there that by einay minoi you don't say kol she'aseh l'sadav lo yinei sikilum urev, but for a different reason than the Shach. What's the reason the Shach writes? Why doesn't it work? Because it's not really a suffix. You could find out which part it fell into. The Taz says because it's always a deraisa. Min b'she'einay minoi is minat Torah. You need shishim. So the one part that it fell into is also minat Torah. That's why it doesn't work. Simple. If min b'she'einay minoi fell into one part and you don't have shishim in that part, it's also minat Torah or midrabanon. Minat Torah, you need shishim. Min b'minei, what do you need minat Torah? We decided at the beginning of Shiur only roiv. So that's a derabanon. Slow down. That's what the Taz writes over there. What's the nafkamina between the Shach and the Taz? What about min b'she'einay minoi? That's only a derabanon. Simple difference. The Shach would say it still doesn't work. There's no suffix, right? According to the Taz, since it's a derabanon, it works. Min b'she'einay minoi, that's a derabanon, it works. So far, so good. They both say by einay minoi you don't say kol she'aseh l'sadav. But the Shach and Taz are arguing b'yisoid. Why? Shach says because it's got suffix. And Taz says because it's a deraisa. Okay. But Mela over here, what is it? A deraisa or a derabanan? We decided after all our pilpulim, what's going on? How many chatichas do we have here? 3. So at the end of the day, it's only a derabanan anyway. So according to the Taz, will it work? Yeah. So why does the Ramah argue? Because it's shalei behefsid merubah. That's why the Ramah argues. The Shach says it doesn't work here. Why? Because it's einay minoi and it's no suffix. It doesn't matter if it's a deraisa or derabanan. So the Pri Hadar got it wrong. The reason why the Prima Godim writes this in the Taz, and the only reason why the Ramah is machmir is because it's shalei behefsid, because he's going according to the Taz, because the Taz's shita is, and the only reason why einay minoi doesn't work kol she'aseh is because it's a deraisa. Had it been a derabanan, it would work. Since we decided over here it's anyways a derabanan, why? For the Rambam we decided that it's 3 chatichas, or the Chavas Das that holds it's tzli, right? So b'meila it should work be'etzem. So why does the Ramah argue? Good, say that because shalei behefsid merubah. The Ramah Stam argues in the din. But the Shach l'shitose the tainas einay minoi never works. Correct? Never works. So then the Shach says it doesn't work over here at all. Agav, there's another nafkamina. What if it's min b'minei and a deraisa? How's that possible? Both of them together are shishim, but one of them is not even roiv. You got that? Both together is shishim, but one of them is not even roiv. So on that one, that's not even roiv. It is a suffix deraisa or a suffix derabanan? Huh? Deraisa, right? The Taz would say it doesn't work. You don't say kol she'aseh l'sadav. The Shach might say it works because it's min b'minoi, according to those poskim. Maybe we'll discuss that at a different time. I'm showing you other nafkamina within the Shach and the Taz.
Basar Bechalav is min b'minoi.
No.
But it's basar with other basar.
No, but the cholav that fell into any... Slow down. The cholav that fell on one of these 2 pieces is the chaleis and tam is the einay minoi. Ein noch einay minoi gadol mizeh. Basar b'cholav. The biggest einay minoi in the world. Not the 2 k'deiros with each other. The issur with the k'deiros.
Didn't we say earlier that basar b'chalav is min b'minoi?
That's once the basar became asur into other basar, that's min b'minoi. But the original cholav with the original basar, the ein noch einay minoi gadol mizeh. Kapashut. Da bissel trachten.
Who is the Shach go like? Is he saying Shach's arguing with the Rambam? Like, who would he...
Shach is explaining the Rashba. That the Rashba only says it. He argues the Rambam. He claims the Rambam holds it's even by einay minoi, but we don't hold like the Rambam. So at the end of the day, after this whole sugya, actually it's beautiful. The Rambam meant kipshutay, not like the Mari ben Chaviv. It taka means noyer sakdeira later. Taka didn't become nevela because it's a din of kol she'aseh l'sadav lo yinei sikilum urev, which explains why there's no issue at eimavatim is l'chatchila even according to the Taz. Because it's l'chatchila not aser. It's l'chatchila bottle. Kol she'aseh lo yinei sikilum urev. It's l'chatchila muter. Why you have to mix it? Eitz a toiva or because that's the din. Ubemela, the Rambam says you're allowed to mix them. This is the biur in the Hamshach of Siv Beis. Okay, the next shiur is going to be on Siv Gimel and Dalet, and hopefully we'll even get to the big Terei Mashu. Really, you have to be holding it ready in Siv Hey. This is again the shiurim were behind a little bit because of Kama Sibis. But you guys have to truck away. Put the tables back, please, before they kill me.